Slavery was prominent in and before the 1800s. It began when African Americans were kidnapped and brought to the U.S. from Africa. Slaves made up 1/3 of the population of the South and were treated as property and animals.
Quit talking. Start working. Pick that cotton.
The 1950s and 60s were a time of change in America. From the Supreme Court case that fought against segregation, Brown versus Board of Education, to the Civil Rights Act of 1964, equality for African Americans made its mark. Unfortunately, many Southern whites didn't like this fact. They used violence and intimidation to prevent blacks from asserting their rights. Many white police officers used their place of power to harm and intimidate African Americans. Martin Luther King Jr. was popular for his peaceful protests and his leadership in the civil rights movement.
Get out of here, you stupid Negro. There's not room for the likes of you.
We're not trying to interfere with your day, ma'am. We're simply trying to be served.
Your kind isn't welcome here.
Malcolm X was known for advocating for violent protests. They were sometimes effective, but not long-term. Protests led by Malcolm X usually included fighting and vandalism, but they usually ended with police being involved and arrests being made.
In 1954, the Supreme Court ruled that it was unlawful for public schools to be segregated.
I can't believe that African Americans are at our school now. The teacher calls on them, and they haven't learned the things at their schools.
Black children felt unequal to white children due to segregation. The reluctance to segregate degraded black children's self-esteem.
You know, they're not that much different than us. The only difference is the color of their skin.
Today, there are still protests about racial discrimination. Some protests are more effective than others. However, many modern protests have not maintained the main focus of Martin Luther King Jr.'s protests. They have led to disruptive protesting involving violence and destruction to property. Of course, all lives matter, but the All Lives Matter movement drown out the issues that the Black Lives Matter movement are trying to address. Due to the legalization of LGBT rights on June 26, 2016, many people are fighting to make the LGBT community a protected class.
Mr. Austin, please begin with your opening statements.
Sexual orientation is not an innate, indisputable characteristic like race, nationality, or sex. Instead, it is based on changing personas and personal sexual decisions.
Mrs. Gunther, please proceed.
Recent studies have been able to genetics to homosexuality. This gene, XQ28, is expressed further as a person develops.
It is assumed that every person is born with an inherent sexual orientation.
Please proceed with your closing statements.
Although the government cannot discriminate due to the 14th Amendment, private business owners are able to decide who they want to do business with. If LGBT is a protected class, the government is essentially stripping their business owners of their freedom of thought and their freedom to express that thought. You cannot force a person to do a service, and if LGBT is a protected class, a business could be sued for turning away a person that they do not want to serve.
This class of people have not chosen their orientation, and by turning away LGBT individuals, you're stripping them of their freedoms. Imagine being denied normal services because of who you are.
Thank you. Court is adjourned.
This is present day. What you're watching right now shows the good and the bad of cops in America. You can see that one cop is beating an unarmed black child, and you can also see a cop having fun and playing basketball against a black child. There are good cops and there are bad cops. You cannot put each into one category.